Well, hello everybody. Danny back from Deepsouth Homestead on another porch time. Whew, guys, it's fixing to be lunch. I stopped for just a few minutes, thought I'd shoot my porch time. Had some weather move through yesterday, really close, but not quite close enough to give us any rain. We got the wind and we got the thunder, but lightning, but no rain. And we need it bad. We really do need it bad. Today the wind has picked up, blowing pretty good, which is a blessing. I'm not going to complain about that. Breaks this heat. Yesterday, the heat index yesterday was 112 degrees. Now the actual temperature was only 92, but the heat index, it was just perfectly clear skies. I mean, that sun was bearing down. And you're like, where's the chemtrails when you need them? You know, we were laughing and joking about that to help block out some of that sun because of the heat. But, oh man, just trying to get a breath today. We've got so much going on, trying to get projects done. Like we talked about in our live stream, this is Sunday morning, by the way, that I'm shooting this. The live stream last night, we talked about how that gardening for us is winding down now. You know, we talked about, was we going to be planting anything new, and the answer is no. We're not planting anymore. We're not planting anything else. As we go into June and July and August here in Deep South, we don't plant anything. We've got our sweet potatoes are still going, our corn is still going, and some of our plants are still going. Our Cherokee yellow wax beans. Now, we've picked them things 8 times. We've never done that before. But this year we picked them 8 times, and they're blooming again. And I don't see how they're doing it. I really, in this heat, I don't see, they're a cool weather plant. I do not see how they're making it. We're starting to harvest our Cherokee yellow wax beans now for seeds. We got some of them harvested in. We still got a few squash coming in, some tomatoes, some cucumbers and stuff like that, but we're not, we got pink-eyed purple hull peas getting ready to be picked here probably the next week or so. But we're not planting anything new. When this stuff plays out, that's over for us until the fall, and we will redo our soil in the fall, and we'll plant our fall stuff. Probably September we'll start planting our onion seeds and things like that. I hope the wind ain't messing with us too bad. It's getting up pretty high. But we'll be doing that around September. And so we'll have our onion sets ready to go in the ground probably mid-November. That's the plans. Okay, that is our plans. A lot of people have asked about Pecan Grove. We did get our well put in. That's been done. We are actively getting everything hooked up now where we can do more paddocks for the cows over there. We got water source for them now. It's a 4-inch submergible well. We can turn it on and run enough water. We don't have to worry about the little tiny pump that's over there, the little 2-inch one. It's above ground pump. It was struggling to keep enough water going. So, and the 4-inch is like 4 acres away from the garden, so it's not like we can just run water to the garden. We may have to relocate the garden to a different location so that we can have water closer to the garden. That's one of the things on our agenda. We probably will still plant corn at the original place, but I'm not sure we'll continue to plant our other vegetables there because we don't really have a water source there for them. But anyway, I mean, we've got some videos we're trying to get made. We may be in the near future cutting back on some of our videos because in the heat of the summer like this, we just don't do a whole lot out in the heat. And my way of thinking is there's no sense in me making just videos to be making videos. I'm not going to just be, Porch Time is an exception. I'll sit here and talk to you on Porch Time, but other than that, I'm not going to be like a lot of YouTube channels that just sit and talk about what they've done. I'm not going to do that. I would rather show y'all what we're doing, how we're doing it, the results of why we're doing it, and things to that nature, rather than just being a bobbling, talking head. You know, sharing with you stuff that's already all over the news anyway. To me, I don't see any sense in that. Now, if something is breaking and it's new, a new event or something like that, I can see jumping on doing something like that. But as far as just getting on here, sitting and talking to you about current events, that's not high on my radar. You know, I mean, because you can go online and find anything out that you need to find out. Now, is it going to be true? I would take it with a grain of salt, what I find out on the internet, because most of it, unless you have an inside source that's sitting there talking to you face to face, I don't put a lot of clout in what you read on the internet. Just simply because I've been able to debunk so many things on the internet, especially with gardening, dairy. I mean, I've proved it. I've showed literally told you what they've said at particular points in history and stuff like that, and how they've changed their tune on certain things. Even on the same documents, they talk differently about different things. So, not going to go into all that. So I'm kind of restructuring what we're doing. Now, a lot of people are asking about the wildfires up in Canada and how that the smoke is affecting the United States. Guys, if y'all will go back, I told y'all a year ago that we was going to have fires. And that's nothing new. We knew it was coming. We knew it was going to happen. Now they're happening in Mexico. There's some other events going to happen in Mexico. I will tell you that. There's some events that's going to be taking place globally here before long. Man is not the culprit of this. The moon is being pulled out of its orbit and is shaking really, really bad right now, and it's going to affect the tides of the world. I mean, all science knows this. I mean, if you know where to go, it's there. You know, so I'm not going to sit here and beat a dead horse by going over all this stuff. What I do want to take time today and talk about is living beyond the sidewalk. Now listen to what I'm saying. Living beyond the sidewalk. Now, back in the 1950s, there was an agenda that was started right after the world wars in the 40s ended. There was an agenda created for people to actually live based off of sidewalks. Now, when I say that, what I mean is it means to become dependent upon grocery stores, become dependent upon the food system, become dependent upon the electrical system, become dependent upon the government, become dependent upon all these agencies that's out there. And that's called living within the sidewalks. I want to talk to you about living beyond the sidewalks. And I think that's where, in the world that we're heading in today, you know, the scriptures tells us to come out of her, my people, and be ye separate. Come out from among her and be separate. This system that we're going under, unless we learn to live beyond the sidewalks and not be guided by the system that's out there, we're going to fall prey to it. Now, there's some things probably going to happen. If people are on governmental assistance like Social Security and all kinds of other things, there is, and I don't know this for a fact, but I have heard chatter that there's talk of, if you don't comply with the new rules and regulations that they're going to put out, the new mandates, then your Social Security will be taken away from you. And that's why we have to learn to live beyond the sidewalks. Because if we are dependent upon the government for our substancy and for our substance of living, then what happens is they rule over us. We have no authority. We have no say. They literally tell us what we can do and what we can't do. If you live in a house that's all electric, you are under the thumb of a power company. You have no choice. If they tell you you cannot have a wood heater where you live at in an HOA, or if they tell you you cannot have a chicken, or you can't have goats, or you can't have ducks or cows or whatever you want to have, rabbits or anything, you're living under literally that's because you've allowed yourself to be put into a situation where, based off of the system, so to speak, we wanted to live better than our forefathers did. We moved into these subdivisions, and I've built many a one of them that has HOAs, the homeowners associations. It has a board that's actually over the whole subdivision. They make the rules as to what can happen and what can't happen in that. That's common. They'd say, oh, well, we do it because we want to keep the value of our homes up. That's one thing that I'm never worried about, is the value of my home. Because I don't plan on going anywhere, so I'm not worried about the value of it. You know what I mean? I don't want it to go up. I would rather mine come down. It's like when they came through here, it's been 30 years ago, I guess. They came through and wanted to run county, well, municipal water, whatever you want to call it, poison to the system, make you drink tap water, so they called it. They wanted to put these big towers up and run water lines. And they go, oh, this is going to raise the value of your property. You don't have to worry about having a well and blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. I fought that with tooth and nails and said no, and it didn't come on our road, you know. I don't believe in it. It's poison. If you want to take out a whole group of people, all you got to do is poison a water tower, and you can kill everybody that drinks that tap water. I mean, no, thank you. I will stick with my well. And we did have a town meeting here several years ago where they talked about coming in and plugging people's wells with cement. And they found out right quick, like, there'd probably be a lot of life lost if they did, because people just wasn't going to have it, you know. And we've got to learn. We've become so complacent with the system that when the beast system comes in, which it's almost, it's really is already here, to be honest with you, it's just that they haven't implemented every faction of it. It's all in place, literally every part of it, and you go, well, I'll never live under it. Well, if you've got a debit card or credit card, you're already in the system. I mean, you're already there. We're going to a cashless society. We'll go to a digital currency, and all that it's already been implemented. It's already sitting there waiting. I've talked to the bankers and stuff. It's already in place. They're just waiting to flip the switch, if you want to just use that phrase. And when they do, those that are dependent upon having a specific amount of money or a check or something drafted into their accounts. I talked to a person here the other day, was asking me, said, what am I supposed to do? I have a savings and all that kind of stuff. I mean, how can they take my money? They can't do that. I said, look, they can do anything they want to do, to be honest with you. And they said, yeah, but how would they do it and make it and get away with it? I said, look, and Wanda and I are going to probably do a video on this here before long, because we have proof. It's going to be based off of carbon credits, which is a hoax. You will be allowed so many carbon credits per month that you can use freely. And if you go beyond those carbon credits, once we go to a digital currency, then you will have money deducted out of your account to compensate for the carbon credits that you went over on. You know, like say for instance you eat beef. Well, a piece of beef that weighs a certain amount of weight for a meal, it took so many carbon credits to take care of that. And if you go beyond those carbon credits, you know, then it's deducted out of your account. You just, little by little, they take your money away. It's going to be kind of a system kind of like that. And that's why it's so important for us to live beyond the sidewalks. In other words, guys, we've got to, I think my videos already came out, how to save seeds. I have several videos on saving seeds, but we have one that we're working on the Cherokee yellow wax bean, and I don't know if it came out yesterday or if it's going to come out Thursday. Because I'm shooting this on Sunday, I don't know exactly what day it's going to come out yet. But we've got to learn to save our own seeds, because the thing of ordering seeds in the near future is going to be another one of those things that are going to have you over a barrel. And you don't really know if the seeds that you're getting has been modified in some way. The only way to know for sure is save your own. And that's going to be kind of tough for people who are raised bed gardeners or backyard gardeners and stuff like this, because in order to save seeds, you have to isolate your plants, and they have to be way apart from one another. Like you're going to plant beans, you can only plant one variety at a time. If you're going to plant tomatoes, you can only plant one variety at a time and save your seeds and get a true seed source back. Now, will you get something back that's, yeah, you'll get a bean back that'll be a hybrid, but you don't know if what kind of taste it's going to have, what kind of flavor or nutritional value. You don't know anything about it. You don't even know what you're going to get, most likely. And this is why we've got to learn how to save seeds. We've got to learn how to live off the land. We've got to learn how to raise our own food, how to create our own fertilizer. I mean, there's so many aspects to this puzzle that our forefathers used to just be common sense. And now it's like a lost art, literally. I mean, I make my own syrup here. I smoke my own meat. I make my own bacon. You know, I butcher a lot of my own animals. These are arts and skills that used to just be common knowledge to everybody back in the Great Depression and before then. You go all the way back to the beginning of America. Even the founders of this country, everybody was a farmer. Even a lawyer had a farm. They all had to have horses. They all had to have grain to feed their horses and things of this nature, and buggies and things like this. So they all lived on, it was agriculturally based. But we came in the 1950s to living within the sidewalks. In other words, you can get on a concrete sidewalk and go do anything you need to do and be perfectly sustainable. That's the lie that was fed to us through the 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s. And now that we're in the 2000s, we have become totally dependent upon that system. And the sad part about it is if at any moment they decide to confiscate the food system and start rationing, there's a lot of people out there that there's nothing they can do about it. They have to comply or they starve to death. And we've got ourselves into these HOAs and subdivisions and stuff like this because we wanted to live in the modern life, and we wanted to, we wanted to have better for my kids. I sent my kids off to college so they could be indoctrinated with the ways of the world, which are not God's ways. And as a result, my kids no longer like me. My kids think I'm nuts because of the way I think. My kids are off on the deep end out there. They have no clue. They think that communism and socialism is a good thing. That everybody gets equal pay. Everybody gets national health service. Contact somebody from one of these countries and find out how that's going. What kind of line they got to get into to have a procedure done on their body and all this kind of stuff. There's so many facets to this thing, guys, that we've got to learn to live beyond the sidewalks. There's skills that we've got to learn to do. We've got to learn our wild edibles in our area, because it's different for every area. Don't just go buy a book on wild edibles. You got to know that wild edibles for your area. We got to know how to raise a garden. We got to know how to look at that plant, and based off of the color and the texture and the design of that plant, know if it's lacking in nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, zinc, boron, all these copper, all these things. We've got to know by looking at that plant what it's deficient in. Why is my blooms dropping off of my plants? Or why is my fruit shriveling up and not maturing. We've got to know the answers to all this stuff, because AI can now, based off of what it has learned about you, and believe me, it knows everything about everybody now already. Based off of what it knows about you, if you go online to search for anything, within the matter of less than 15 to 20 seconds, it can write a book that agrees with your thinking. And you're Googling something, and you're thinking that you're getting the truth about something, when actually the internet, through AI, has already rewrote a program that's telling you exactly what you was already thinking, and you thought that, oh, I was right after all, when it's not true. You need actual hardback copies of the old botanical encyclopedias, and go way on back. Old books that's out of date. You need to dig these things up and look for the words that's wrote on the pages. History gets rewrote every so many years. What I learned in history as being American history is no longer even taught anymore. It's totally different now. They've reworded the whole thing to meet a new agenda. And that is where we're at. Our society is to a point today to where everybody is a sheeple now. You're like sheep being led to a slaughter. If the government says, oh, this is what we got to do, everybody just jumps on board. Nobody asks a question. Nobody even thinks about anything. They just do it because, oh, it's what's best for us. The doctor said, the doctor is not God, first of all. When I was talking to our oncologist from my previous wife, I made a statement to him just to see what he'd say. I said, Doc, how long does she have left to live? Now, I had a good Christian doctor, an oncologist, and he looked at me and he said, Danny, I have a PhD. I'm not GOD. And see, I could appreciate that. Rather than him just looking at me, because I had a lung doctor that looked at me after he'd done a lung scan on my wife, and the friend that was with me said, Doc, how long does she have left? And he said, probably 2 weeks. And I'm like, 2 weeks? And he said, yeah. Well, she actually lived a month. Not 2 weeks, but a month. And we believe everything that a doctor tells us. We believe them if they say, oh, you need this medication, or you need this, or you need that, we've got to do it. No, you don't. The doctor's not God. We have to understand that, yes, there's a series of tests usually that needs to be ran. We need to look at those tests. We need to pray over those tests. We need to ask the Lord, Lord, is this what you would have me to do? If you have any doubt, get a second opinion from somebody, from another doctor. I mean, look for good Christian-based doctors, not these foreign doctors that's only here over here because they know they can earn a good salary here. I'm talking about good Christian-based doctors that's willing, if you ask them to pray for you and pray with you, if they will do it. If they won't do it, I would suggest get another doctor. I mean, that's always been my theory. The doctors that I've used in the past, all of them have said, I will pray with you. Now, we've got to learn to live beyond the sidewalk. We've got to get out of the system. We've got to get ourselves where if they cut the power off, which they're talking about an internet shutdown here in the next few years, for almost a year they're talking about closing it down. We've got to be able, if we don't have access to Google or DuckDuckGo or whatever it is that you use, to find out some kind of information, you better have it up here, or you better have it on a hardback copy wrote down somewhere. You better have books. That's why I encourage people, build a library. Find books on the subjects that you need to do. Like me, I've been busting my tail for 30 years learning electroculture, trying to learn all the aspects of electroculture. Have I had failures with it? Yes. Have I had successes with it? Really, yes. I've had people sent me emails and pictures since they started it, at the bounty that they're getting from it. Now, I show in a video where I done some spaghetti squash. and my results was not what I expected. But I didn't stop there. I analyzed it, and I tried to figure out why it wasn't working like I thought it was, and I eventually figured it out. It'll be in a video. So we've got to learn. I learned how to correct it, but we've got to learn that there's things out there. There's different ways that God has for us to live. Different societies over the centuries have lived specific ways without all the modern medicines and chemicals and all this kind of stuff that's out there, and they live perfectly healthy lives. Longer lives than many of us are living. All because they lived beyond the sidewalks. I'm not telling you you got to live off grid. I'm not telling you you got to do away with anything you've got. Although I would say get rid of the TV, because that's the one thing that has been the downfall of mankind. There is nothing on TV that is informational. There's nothing on TV that is beneficial. As a matter of fact, it's all brainwashing, propaganda, crap. I got now where I don't even hardly listen to the radio anymore because of all the commercials in between the stuff. I've almost got to a point now, if I can't download the music I want to listen to, I don't even want to listen to it. So there's all these agendas that's out there, guys, to keep us living within the sidewalks. They keep Agenda 21, Agenda 21 was created. Let me tell you this. I don't know if you knew this or not. Agenda 21 was created to, or how shall I say this where I won't get in trouble? Agenda 21 was created against the Christian people. Now you got to think about that for a minute. It was created to be against God's people. Now let that sink in. Agenda 2030 is created to be against God's people. Agenda 2050 against God's people. We've got to learn to use our head for something besides this right here, a hat rack. We've got to use our heads for what God intended it to be used for, a place to store knowledge. And you know what? Knowledge will get you in trouble. You know what? Knowledge will get you in trouble. Wisdom will get you in trouble. What does the Bible say? With knowledge and wisdom, what does it tell you to get with it? It tells you to get understanding. Do you know you can have all the wisdom in the world and be a fool? You can have all the knowledge in the world. You can read all the books in the world. You can look at all the scientific evidence in the world and be a fool. And we have a lot of foolish scientists in the world today, because most scientific studies done today in the world are funded by particular corporations to be leaned in a particular direction. That's why I will not listen to science, is because I don't believe it's accurate. Because it's all funded by these giant corporations. And they're looking for a specific answer, and they manipulate it to lean in that direction. The only thing that I believe now is, first of all, whatever the Lord shows me through Scripture, and secondly, what I have tested myself and know to work. Because even on this property that I live on here now, it's at Deepsouth Homestead, it's 10 acres. I have 7 microclimates on 10 acres. I have 7 different soils on 10 acres. In each one of these soils, my plants react totally different. I can't do on this place right here what I do in the front garden. It won't work because it's a different soil type. That's just totally different. The weather is different right here than it is right over yonder because of the way the sun hits it. The angle of the sun, the amount of the time that the sun is on the ground, the amount of shade that it gets, it creates its own microclimate. And based off of that, I have to learn what will work and where it will work. That's what we're at right now. That's where we're at right now, should I say, at Pecan Grove. This is our first year to grow a garden over there. We are learning what grows where on the property. I'm looking at the different types of trees. What's the pH for those trees? What pH do those trees grow best at? what kind of soil do they grow best in. I look at this weed, that weed, you know, all kind of stuff like that. I'm trying to actively figure out what grows best where at Pecan Grove, because I don't want to wait till I have to be in the middle of a crisis to try to figure this out, because at that point I'll starve to death, and I don't want that. Just like I talked for my tip on our live stream the other night, at the end of every live stream I give a tip. And the tip the other night was plant yourself forever gardens. Most people don't ever think about that. Build you a forever garden. In other words, there's certain things you can plant that are perennials. They just keep coming back year after year after year after year. You plant them one time and you harvest from them for years to come with very little maintenance to them. You want to have one of those on your place somewhere stuck into your permaculture landscape, because look, if you live at a place where they will get on to you if your yard is not mowed a specific way by a specific time, and the grass has got to be this or this has got to be that, you're already in trouble. You're already into their system and you're not going to make it. I'm going to be blunt, I'll be honest, you just won't make it. You've got to be able to have a permaculture system set up so that if they come around to confiscate your food, and don't think this is anything new, because in the Civil War there was laws passed and enacted upon that when the soldiers came through, they had a right to take your cows, had a right to take your chickens, had a right to take any food you had to feed the soldiers. Every president that's elected in the United States reenacts that every time he goes into office ever since then. And some add something to it, some don't. It's nothing new. It's been here since the Civil War time. They have a right to come to your house and confiscate anything you have if it's needed for wartime. The object of this is to have a permaculture setting. When they come to your place, they're going to be looking for stuff in jars, cans, dry goods, all this kind of stuff. And if you've got a monoculture crop sitting out here, they can look and see it's in rows. They know that's edible food. They're going to take that. But not many times will they look at the landscape and you've got a berry plant off over here. It looks like briars, and you've got a blueberry bush stuck off over there. You've got asparagus stuff off over here. You know, you've got strawberries over there. You've got a fruit tree over yonder. And you got sweet potatoes growing out there. You know, that kind of stuff. They don't recognize that as food. And many times, that's how people back in those days survived. They had stuff just stuck away out into the woods and around in landscaping that nobody really knew what it was. Jerusalem artichokes, it just, you know, stuff that looked like flowers growing out everywhere. They just like weeds. They bypass all that stuff, and really a lot of that stuff is, those perennial forever gardens are very nutritious, like garlic and things to this nature. If it's just growing in a flower bed, it looks like a flower. You know, it just ain't got no flower on it. It's just like a plant. So you got to learn how to incorporate this stuff into your landscape and live beyond the sidewalks, guys. That's my message for you today. Learn to live beyond the sidewalks. Thank you, guys, from Deep South Homestead.